One teacher affects 3,000 students every single year. Now, that sounds pretty wild, and you might think, oh, well, those are just teachers, right? The truth is, no matter what your job is, if you're working with the youth, if you're working with people, you're impacting someone and you're changing them, whether you acknowledge that or not. You can have an impact on people, whether you're a teacher or not. You could be a coach. You could be working in an after-school program. You could be a tutor. All of these jobs require you to be in contact with someone or multiple people and see them often. If it's like a couple of days in a row each week, that's kind of a big deal. Young people, and children especially, are unique because they're resilient and they're adaptable. They learn quickly. The children of today are the adults of the future. It's something to really think about and ponder over. The way we shape the children we see will impact what our society will look like in the future. Why work with the youth? Why work with children? Number one, they're easier to make happy. They get happy with the smallest of things, and you're responsible for their smile. And it's so rewarding and so nice to see that. Like, especially the little kids, they laugh at the silliest jokes. They laugh at things that rhyme. That's funny to them. Young children, especially really young children, are closer to like default human nature. They haven't been corrupted by society yet. Their eyes haven't been jaded. Their thoughts haven't been jaded. They're still pure and innocent, and they have so much potential. You can see their growth in a really short period of time, mental, emotional, intelligence-wise, or even their height. You see them in another year and they've grown so much. And if it comes to a skill or something academic, if you've contributed to that and you see that child grow, it's so rewarding to know that you were a part of that. You see them very often, and in some cases you're almost like another parent. Like if we're talking about teaching, for example, sometimes they don't see their parents as much as they see their teachers because their parents are always working. So if that's 5 days in a row every single week for a long time, then that's a lot of influence. That adds up, that accumulates. And we're shaped by the people around us, whether you like it or not, whether you want to admit it or not. Our habits, our communication style, the way that we manage stress, the way that we organize our work and ourselves, our thoughts, all of these things and more are influenced by the people around us. If you're surrounded by people who are constantly belittling you and putting you down and insulting you, then you're probably not going to have very high self-esteem. Chances are. But if you're surrounded by a very warm environment where even if you failed, you weren't put down or insulted, but you were always encouraged to try and do your best and genuinely accepted for who you are, then chances are you'd have high self-esteem. The youth, children in particular, are really likely to depend on you. Whether it's a student or someone you're coaching or someone you're tutoring, a lot of times they share things that are really personal, like the death of a family member or something that happened to their friend or that their parents don't get along. You have the ability to be a part of that person's life. I know students who share these things with me, like students I just met on that day will tell me that, they're going through a hard time because a family friend died. You'd be surprised how open young people are with someone who's willing to listen to them. And it's human nature to want a shoulder to lean on. Sometimes there are things that people don't want to share with their parents or even their friends. They'll share it with you because you're in their life as well. Maybe they just want to speak to somebody and not let it impact the other areas of their life. I know students who start talking to me about their hobbies and if you don't interrupt them, they'll keep talking, they'll go on and not realize that they've been talking for so long. Just today, a student was telling me about how she was learning Japanese in quarantine. And she had the actual kanji and like the letters written out. She explained that there were three categories basically, like Japanized Western words like banana, and then like kanji, and there was something else. But she was explaining it to me, and then she was telling me everything. I didn't ask her to. I was just curious about her work, what it was. She kept going on, and she was showing me her drawings and all of these things, and I was a part of that. People share their hobbies, and you can encourage them. You can be a force that pushes them forward, or you can be something that hinders them and holds them back. You can be the person that makes them feel heard or recognized or even needed. Because sometimes things are tough and they don't feel like they belong with their friends, and they don't feel like they can talk to their family. They don't feel like anyone needs them. They don't feel like they have a place or a role anywhere. But if you ask them about their day, if you ask them about their life or about the time that they hurt their foot and if they're okay, how their table tennis practice is going, they'll remember that and they'll really feel like you care. Somebody cares about it, right? I used to work in an after school program, and there were it was grades K through 5, and some of the kids would share things about like their families and their cultures and their lives, and some of it was like so detailed that I don't even think the regular teacher knew some of the things that they were telling me. You don't have to be a teacher to hear about these things and to get to know someone personally, to be a part of their lives. We can mold them into who they will become for a very long time. Like, how many of us have had a teacher or someone or some adult who's talked to us or impacted us, and that impression has stayed with us for a very long time? They've changed us somehow, either positively or negative, and we remember it even though it happened a very long time ago. Young people will remember that you made them laugh when they were stressed out, or that you were there for them when they experienced loss. I remember in 4th grade, I had to write a poem about the seasons, and I told my teacher that I wasn't looking forward to it. I didn't want to do it. I hated poetry. And then she said, "But why?" And then I told her that it was because I didn't think I was any good at it. And she encouraged me to try and give it my best shot. So I wrote something, and then it wasn't that long, and I can only remember the first 2 lines. It was like, "Spring is here, time for cheer." I don't remember the rest, but I showed it to her, and she was like, "Wow, this is pretty good." And she was like, "See, I told you could write." And I remember thinking to myself, "Oh, maybe I'm not so bad at this." And now, like over a decade later, I write poetry for fun. It's really interesting to think about. I never made the connection between her encouraging me back then and me actually taking interest in it. I even considered writing as a profession. What's also noteworthy is that I really liked her as a teacher, and I enjoyed social studies with her so much. It became like almost like a lifelong interest. I was really interested in it throughout school, like in middle school with US history. I was really interested in that. With high school and in college, I was thinking about majoring in history and teaching in either a high school or becoming a professor. And her class might have been one of the reasons why. It can either make you really love something or hate it or even tolerate it. If you've ever watched I Am Lucid, you know that his football coach, who was also his teacher, his language arts teacher, made him an atheist, basically. Molded him into becoming an atheist. If you think about that, that's pretty wild. To think that someone can impact you so heavily that they can change your core beliefs about the world, the universe. That's mind-boggling. Change how you perceive the rest of the world, how you perceive everything else around it. And that was deliberate. That was obviously not his place to do so, but that's the power that adults in your life have. And you could either use that power and influence for something good to propel them forward, to encourage them. Casey Neistat, he mentioned that I think it was a high school, no, it was the principal of one of his schools, maybe it was his high school, who said that he would either work at a gas station or he would be in jail. And that's wild, because now Casey's probably making more than that principal is or ever did. And him not believing in Casey actually impacted him. I'm sure it was negative as well, but in a way it could have been positive because it might have motivated him to prove that principal wrong. But that influence is definitely there. He still remembers it, right? He's like over 30 now. Teachers, counselors, tutors, coaches, right? Babysitters. They can even change your ideology, the way you think about the world, the way you perceive people. Even if it's unintentional, the exposure is still there. The constant exposure to that same person over a period of time will change you. It's a psychological fact. Why do you think they play music at the mall? And it's certain music. It's not like heavy metal or like orchestra, epic music. There are psychological reasons behind the music that they play. They release feel-good chemicals. They make you associate a good experience with the mall. So you pair them together, and then whenever you think about, those positive emotions, you think about the mall. Maybe I should go to the mall again. And they'll make you want to stay because the songs are really, really catchy. And then the more you stay, the more likely you are to buy something, to peruse and like see something that you like, even if you didn't need it or actually intend to buy it. So even seeing someone a couple of days in a row for an hour each week will change you. Working with the youth allows you to build someone's character and their personality, to shape them. Like, let's say you teach them how to manage their stress, how to meditate, or how to manage negative thoughts, or some coping mechanism, right? Like doing an activity with friends. That can become a part of them for a very long time. If you lighten a serious atmosphere with humor, you're reminding them that it's not good to be serious all the time, right? Let's say they have an SAT coming up, something big is coming up, and they're really worked up and they're really wound tight. You can be that light. Or if you create a competitive atmosphere, or if you only emphasize grades, you give them conditional love or acceptance, then that's the way they're going to start to think. You're going to influence the way that they think. And they're going to equate their worth with their grades. Or at the very least, they'll value grades, class rank, and grades aren't everything. They might stress themselves out a little less and focus on other things and recognize other things. One student told me that she had nightmares and she got very stressed thinking about where she would be in the school ranking because she wanted to make the top 10 for personal achievement. I could see the bags in her eyes. She was taking it pretty seriously. We have the position as adults in their lives to remind them that their worth is more than these material things, more than their grades. And then you can be a role model. You can be what young people think being the ideal adult is like, or what being a good adult is like. Because youngsters are still learning social rules, like how to behave. They're still being conditioned and socialized. And your actions and your words are teaching them what is proper and improper for an adult. So now, if you hate your life and you're miserable 24/7, and you're always yelling at the children that you work with, then they're going to associate that with you, your career, your life, and being an adult. We shape children who will become the next generation. So we have a very important role working with who we do. We can be a good influence on them. We can be a horrible influence on them that will stay with them and scar them forever. Yeah, that was really dark. I don't know why we went there. But yeah, be the light, inspire the next generation. I'm worried about Gen Z. Seriously. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next one.